Welcome to
Thank you.
Fresh
Thank you for having
Music
me.
Music Flavor. I go by Alicia, aka Shashisha. Tonight we have an amazing, beautiful. She's not just an artist, but she will introduce herself. Tonight we have Anu. Anu, can you please introduce yourself?
Thank you so much for having me, Shashisha, and the Fresh Music Flavor team. I'm so happy to be on your program. Thanks for having me. So yeah, I am, a gospel musician. But I also love to do lots of different things. So I'm a choir director, and some people may know me from my work with the Reapers Choir and several other choirs. I also do some vocal coaching. I do quite a lot of that, actually. I work with different community choirs, and then I also lead worship, which is one of my favorite things to do. I'm a singer-songwriter, and I've released some music, and that's one of the reasons
Wow.
why I'm here today.
Now we've just discovered she's not just a singer, but she leads choirs. Is that correct? A
Correct.
vocal?
Yeah.
Oh wow! So you're really busy. Not really, yeah, an entrepreneur, shall I say?
Yeah, actually, yeah, and I'm not ashamed to say that, because I think in the kingdom we have to be business minded.
Yes.
Otherwise we wouldn't be able to properly and honestly support the work that we do for the kingdom. So I have found that I've had to look at ways of drawing funds into it, so that I don't have to just push on the music side. Does that make sense? I
Yes.
never want to write or record music just because I want to earn from it, or for what I want to get from it. I want that to be ministry. So in order to support that, I've got to do other things
Of
to
course.
earn the
Of
money. So
course.
the choir directing, the writing, the vocal coaching, all of that stuff comes in to fill
Wow.
in those gaps.
I mean, it is amazing to just know, all of this in just one human. It's unreal. But tell me a little bit about yourself. We know that you are, a gospel writer, a gospel singer. You are a vocalist. Tell me about you. Who is Anu? Where is Anu from? What's her background? Give me a little CV about yourself.
Oh gosh. All right. Okay. You asked for it, so I'm going to give it. Okay. So actually, I always say born and raised in Hackney, but that's not quite true. I was born in Haringey, but
Okay.
really spent most of my life in Hackney, and I love Hackney and East London and everything to do with that. Now moved just slightly out to Essex, but still have very great roots in Hackney. And I say that because my family church was there, and that's where I was raised and developed in music. And in fact, the Reapers Choir that I was talking about, we were a church choir. So yeah, at the time, that's my family church. I'm in another church now, but obviously it will always be very close to my heart. So we were a church choir, and I was actually a lawyer.
Oh,
So I was a
wow.
criminal barrister for 15 years, before I ended up doing music full time. So God called me out of law into music. And so during that time, I really had focused on life as a lawyer, because it's very demanding, as you can imagine. But after 2012, that kind of time, I decided to really answer the call to go further into music and really take the choir seriously and take them outside of the church walls. And so we started to minister in different places, and that's how
Wow.
it grew and grew and grew. And that's how people started calling for the choir, and it exploded. So it took another sort of 5 or 6 years for me to actually come out of law completely. And by that time, I sort of built more of a profile in gospel music. And then I went into music completely in 2015, 2016. And
Wow.
so I've been doing that ever since.
Okay. I mean, it is. How did you feel about the transition? Obviously, you said you were a lawyer for about 15 years. Is that correct? Or a
Really, yeah.
barrister?
Yeah,
15.
criminal barrister, yeah.
Yeah, how did you feel about the transition, from a lawyer and then going into gospel minister? How did you feel about that? Because I don't know if I could transition it? I don't know. But yeah, how
Honestly,
did you?
honestly, at the time, I wasn't really thinking so much about the transition. I just knew that I had heard God's voice and was determined to follow it.
Mhm.
Um, and, you know, if I had really stopped and thought about it so much, I wouldn't have done it. But the thing of it is that, you know, I really feel that there was a leading path up to it. So I explained that it was really sort of between 2011 and 12 that we really started to take the choir further. And then that started to grow. And so I had some time to build up the music through the choir and through the things that we did
Yeah.
before I left law. You know, had a few years. I didn't leave law fully until 2015, 2016. So that was a few years. Having said that, you know,
Mhm.
nothing fully prepares you from going to a
Yeah.
fairly steady, good earning to all the way, woo. But, I have to say, God has been faithful. He just took me
Amen.
through the different journeys of finding my feet and just building up the business, the business side of it, the teaching more regularly, making sure that I'm teaching choirs, doing vocal directing, going into different churches to help with their worship teams, doing one-on-one vocal coaching.
Mhm.
So bit by bit by bit, I began to build that up, which I never really thought I would have done. And then lots of other things came out of it as well. So did a little bit of broadcasting on the side. During the pandemic last year, I began children's resources. I've really sort of developed myself as a instrumentalist as well. So
Yeah.
all these areas of growth, I honestly believe you can't really get them unless you're prepared to jump. Not in the
That's
same
true.
way, because you kind of need to know that if you don't make it,
Yeah.
then there's no safety net for you. And then that really drives you because you know that your only safety net is God. So
That's
that
true.
really drives you, A, to trust in Him, and B, to really do what you need to do. And those two factors were really important for me in
Wow.
developing to the place where I am now, where thankfully I can pay the bills.
But then again, obviously, because I know you just said with the transition, it was God speaking to you, and obviously He led you into, this new path of yours. But my only thing is how do you see the gospel industry? Because I know sometimes we may face a lot of struggles left, right, and center. How do you see the gospel industry, mainly in the UK? How do you see it?
Well, I mean, we're in a transitional period of time, and I've got to say, as part of my journey, actually, I ended up becoming, and now I'm now on the board of the Gospel Music Industry Alliance in the UK.
Yeah.
So it's part of our responsibility to build this community and to draw everybody together and to develop infrastructure so that we can move forward. And I was involved with it a few years ago. It had some bumps in the road there, but the newly constituted board of the Gospel Music Industry Alliance, the GMIA, began last year, and now we are really working really hard. And so hopefully, the way in which I see it is that it's developing. It's not necessarily easy for many people to do what I did and walk away from a full-time, well-paying job into making your own living like that. It's possible, but it's not easy, right? And so we want to try and work and build a community where it is easier to do that if possible. I'm not saying
Yeah.
everyone can necessarily do that, but that takes infrastructure, that takes having things in place that support gospel musicians, instrumentalists, producers, radio platforms, media personnel, the whole works. So that's what we're aiming to build. I still think that we are a community and we have to work ourselves into an industry where the
Yeah.
money goes round, because that's what it's all about, commerce.
Hmm. And then in terms of your music,
Sorry,
it's
just to pause. I don't want people to get the wrong idea when I say that's what it's all about. I mean, an industry is about commerce. So we know that the gospel is about the gospel of Jesus Christ and our Lord and spreading the word. And also some people will look at gospel music as a genre, which is obviously very important. But I'm saying that for someone to do what I did, and for more of us to be able to do what I do, and just focus on delivering the gospel however we can, we do need an industry where people can pay their mortgages and feed their families whilst they're doing it. So I just didn't want people to get the wrong idea.
No, definitely. I mean, in terms of your music itself, do you cater just for gospel, or do you cater for the wider range? If I mean the wider, I mean, we can talk about worldly people, we can talk about Christianity, we can talk about Muslim, anyone. Is it a wider range, or is it mainly just strictly gospel, strictly Christians?
That's a really good question. So that's a very good question. In my output, in the products that I create, it's mainly Christian. So if you're looking at music under my name, Anu Omideyi, 9 times out of 10, that's going to be Christian gospel music, right? It's going to be about our Lord Jesus Christ. It's going to be worship. It's going to be talking about the journey and so on. There'll be different styles. So I put out an EP a couple of years ago, which was more of a worship type EP, because I love worship. But the track that I've just put out, Back to You, is more of like a gospel pop ballad. So different styles. However, I don't believe that ministry is limited to just the gospel genres, and I try to shine my light, well, the light of Christ. I don't have any light myself. Shine the light of Christ in different environments. So that doesn't always mean that it's strictly gospel music. And here are the different ways that I do it. So when I'm teaching, so people come to me from different backgrounds. I have a lot of Christian singers that want vocal training. So we work on gospel songs. But I have a lot of non-Christians that want vocal training as well. And we'll work on the songs that they want to work on. But in that interaction, I will get the chance to try, and in my personality and in my behavior, I want to represent Christ. So that's not bashing them over the head with, do you go to church? Are you saved? Do you know Christ? It's just being the kind of person that they will come away thinking about, or there's something different about her. That's what I try to be. I don't always think that's what I try to be. So, but then also in my work with different choirs, there'll be different types of music as well. So again, there will be music that I will refuse to cover, and there'll be things that I'll refuse to do if I don't like the content, if I don't think it is uplifting, or if I think it's negative, or frankly, if I think it's dark, right? I won't do it. But in some of the choirs I do, again, they're community based, or they're sort of project based. So for example, at the moment, I'm working with the Hillsborough Memorial Disaster Commemoration Choir. So you might remember that in 1989, there was a massive football disaster at the Hillsborough football ground, where many people sadly lost their lives. Now, for years, they fought for justice, and they had inquiries, and now they've come to the final commemoration of all those who've lost their lives. Obviously, this is not a Christian event. This is a mainstream national event. And so I'm working with that choir. Now, some of the songs are in fact Christian, but some of them are inspirational songs. And so I'll be working with them in that I am working with them in that capacity. And some of the members of the choir are Christians, and some of them absolutely do not believe in God, but we get to discourse. And again, in every way, I'm just trying to let the light of Christ shine. Finally, I would say, like, the children's resources that I started last year, they don't have a Christian background, but they're talking about important issues like protecting children's bodies, or about race relations from a children's perspective. Really fun language, really upbeat, catchy songs, so that they can have the education in the form of music and supporting material around the music. So whilst again there's no mention of Christ or Lord or what have you, it's
No.
still extremely positive, trying to make a change. And in fact, many churches have called me in to talk about the project and to and have bought the project as well as schools. And actually, I've also been commissioned by a church to create more for the church. So this is how we can have
Wow.
we can have our light shine not just in the Christian arena, but in other arenas as well.
So we just find out that we don't just cater for Christian or, you know, gospel itself. We actually cater for a wider range.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So Anu
yeah,
does cater for the wider range. It can be
yeah,
kids, it can be adults, it can be anybody. Anybody is welcome.
yeah,
So yeah, that's great stuff. I mean,
absolutely.
talk to me a little bit about your new track. Tell me about your new song. I know it came out 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, a few weeks
Back
ago.
to
Yeah,
You.
yeah.
Why the name Back to You? Tell me about it. Tell me a bit about that.
Okay, so really, that was a song that I wanted to reflect the times that we're going through. I really wanted
Yes,
it to be a time for a season. In the last 12 months, we have all, at one point or another, been affected by this pandemic, and
of
we have
course.
all experienced some form of a loss or hardship or difficulty or struggle. And I
Yeah.
just wanted the Christian message within that space to be an honest conversation,
Hmm.
about how it can feel like fire when you're walking through difficult times, or how you can feel like you're drowning, because the Bible caters for that. So Isaiah 43:2 talks about, when you walk through the waters, I will be with you. They will not overwhelm you. Or when you pass through the fire, it will not burn you. And that's actually the basis of the song. And the song goes on to talk about make a way in the wilderness, let the rivers sweep the desert. And that's taking from the same scripture, Isaiah 43, but verses 16 and 19, which talks about that, when God says, I'll make a way in the desert, or behold, can you not see a new thing that springs from the desert, and make a way in the wilderness. And really, I just wanted the song to be a conversation and a prayer to God,
Yeah.
saying, look, through everything that we find ourselves in, we want to find our way back to you. Even if
Hmm.
we're struggling with the questions, we're struggling with the trauma, we're struggling with difficulty, in all those questions and situations, we still want to find our way back to you.
Wow, I can feel the passion there in this. Oh my God. You know what? It is amazing having to just hear you say that. And, you know, I'm sure our listeners can feel, you know, when you're talking, the passion. Guys, you have to check out this song. You really need to.
Thank you.
Now, tell me, on the top of your head, three gospel artists that inspired you from a young age to now. Three gospel artists. That's all I need to know. Just three.
Okay, all right. I have to say, Kevin has been a massive part of my musical journey, with choirs, sounds, delivery, content, honest content. I mean, I
Yeah.
was even as I was writing Back to You, I was actually listening to his interview with the Kingdom Choir. So
Wow.
from really young age to right now, Kurt Franklin has been a massive inspiration. I've got to say Fred Hammond as well. Um, I feel like Kirk and Fred go hand in hand, don't they? If you grew up in the 90s, right? The 80s and 90s, like I did, you were listening to Fred, you were listening to Kirk.
Yeah.
And Fred Hammond again. The lyrical content is quite important. It's not just the amazing melodies and the music and the bass. Fred Hammond's music is very bass driven and guitar oriented and what have you. But you listen to the lyrics. I mean, please don't pass me by. when you're listening to that song, you can hear the cry of the man at the roadside, that you can feel the story that Fred is talking about through the song. And all of his songs really work like that.
Don't tell me about the songs. I will tell you. You're going to tell me 3 songs later. I just
Oh
need
my
to know
God,
the artist.
okay, all right, just the artist. Oh my God, it's so hard to narrow it down. I want to mention a woman. So I'm going to say Karen Clark Sheard, actually. I'm going to be a bit naughty and say Karen Clark Sheard's Finally Karen album, which was produced by Donald Lawrence. So I'm sort of sneaking 2 people,
You
even though you
sneak
just said
it
3. I just sneaked it in. But I remember in my university days, just every single day. I would say every day for a year, maybe.
Wow.
I was listening to Karen Clark Sheard over and over and over again. Yeah, that's kind of how I soak in music. So there are many, many more. That's a small
I can just
representation.
tell there are probably many, many more. Now, 3 top gospel songs that you play 24/7 non-stop. Just 3. I know you gave me 3 artists, but I want to know 3 songs that you play 24/7 that inspires you, keeps you going every single day.
Oh, that's too difficult, because I tell you why. I tell you why that's too hard, because I listen to songs on a seasonal basis, right?
Okay.
So for example, I've just told you about the Karen Clark Sheard, right?
Yeah.
And I told you that I listened to that one album for a year. So
Yeah.
that's sort of how I consume music. And that's also part of my production head as well. I want to listen to every single instrument, every single note, so I'll be listening to the same album. So the reason why I say that it's difficult to name 3 songs is because the 3 songs I'm listening to all the time now are from one album, one artist, because that's the way I consume music. So so please don't think that these are only the songs.
No.
It's just what I'm listening to now. So at the moment, I'm listening to, I'm going to try and mix it up a bit. I'm listening to Israel Houghton's latest album, which is called Feels Like Home, right? He recorded it during lockdown last year. It's just been released, but I bought a ticket to the concert online, and so I've been listening to it ever since last year, November. And oh my gosh, the songs that I'm listening to from that album pretty much every single day. I'm listening to a song called Echo. I'm listening to a song called Breakthrough, Hymn of Breakthrough, which is a massive song on the album. There are too many. I'm listening to a song called Accepted. Oh gosh, that's already 3. They're all from the album though. But in terms of other artists, I was it's too many. I'm gonna break it down. I listened to William McDowell, I Can Rinse. Tasha Cobbs, I Can Rinse. You know, some African worship leaders or gospel artists like Nathaniel Bassey, Sinach, I Can Rinse. So it's just too much.
So we have a mixture. So we've just discovered with Anu, it's a mixture of everything.
It really is.
She's not able to give us 3 straight songs. It's from everything. That's what we discovered from Anu. Should we just say that, yeah?
Literally. That's literally it.
Right, Anu, just quickly, I just want to know, how do you feel about everything that has been happening? I mean, you know, lately we've discovered that Sarah Everett, if I'm right, you know, was missing for a couple of days, and then we discovered that she was actually murdered. How do you feel about this situation? Because I know myself as a woman, you know, I, for example, was telling my husband last week that I went for a jog and I felt scared having to go to jog because I go in early in the morning. So I said to him, I got home and I was like, babe, you know what? I feel a bit weird because of, you know, having to hear the news about Sarah and everything. I felt a bit weird because I was worried about who's on my left, who's on my right, just because I went jogging for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, it made me feel some type of way, which I shouldn't feel, because I should feel safe. Yeah. How do you feel about this situation? I mean, it's hit me hard.
Yeah. Yeah, and thank you for your honesty, and thank you for raising this subject um, in a conversation like this, because I don't think that a lot of Christian platforms are prepared to discuss these issues. Now, the way I feel is really sad. I feel like men and the wider population at large are realizing just how much women have to factor in safety into a daily part of our lives, in a way that I don't think men fully understand. It's not their fault, they don't have to do it. They just don't fully understand until we tell them, just always having to be on guard if you're walking alone.
Course.
And some women don't understand this either, because they're never alone, or they're always driving, or they never go out at a time where it might be getting a bit dark or what have you. But just the idea that we always have to keep our wits about us, wherever we go, whatever we do. I have to say that's not a new concept to me, because I practiced in criminal law for many, many years. So I understood all those things and the situations that can arise, the safety measures you have to take, and so on and so forth. But the wider conversation about it, I think, has been a very illuminating conversation. It's really allowing people to understand that this is a real thing, and that and sometimes, when men see a woman walking on her own, and it's not just late, it's sometimes just during the day.
Yeah.
And you do feel that you just have to be on your guard a bit. And there are things that men can do to make us feel a little safer. And it's not necessarily their responsibility or what have you, but it really helps.
Yes.
It really helps. And I think that most men with this knowledge will want to do that. They'll want to, just walk a little bit ahead of us, or be really noisy so that we know that they know that we're there. Do you know what I mean? Or cross the street so that we can see them, that kind of thing. And I think most men will understand now, or are beginning to understand, that I can do something really small that can make this woman feel really comfortable. And I think this is a helpful discussion to have. But so sad that this woman and many other women, disappeared, and have either been murdered or still gone as disappeared or missing. So really, really, really sad.
I know. I mean, we just have to keep everyone's, whoever's lost, a member of the family, during disappearance, or, something like what's just happened with Sarah. We do, our regards to them, and we pray that God consistently, keep you guys going, because it isn't an easy thing at all. I mean, I know it is amazing having to hear your side of it as well, because I was going a bit crazy myself. But it is actually nice to hear it from you, because obviously you did law as well. So with all of this, I'm sure it must have triggered a lot of things in your head.
Yeah.
That made you feel some type of way.
Yeah, this is a real thing, and it's good for people to know that men, because women know, but men to know that this is a real thing. We really think about this. If we hear footsteps behind us, we just will stiffen for a second, even if it's daylight and you feel good. It's just, we just hear so much, we see so much, and frankly, most of the time, if we're on our own, we are vulnerable. So
yeah. All right, guys, we're going to switch it up a little bit right now. We know that Anu released a new song called Back to You, right?
Yeah.
We're just going to introduce it right now, guys. I want you guys to watch the video. I want you guys to listen to it. So we'll be back just after this song.
How do we endure the trauma, walking through the fire, trying not to burn in flames? Or when we're drowning in the river, falling through the water, searching for your hand to save, we call on to see us through, unconsumed without a wound. Make a way in the wilderness. Let the river sweep the desert. Lord, we need to make it back to you. How do we fight through the questions when the declarations that we're making seem to fail? And when the hurting feels like violence and nothing seems to make sense, how do we move and prevail? We call on you to see us through, unconsumed without a wound. Oh, make a way in the wilderness. Let the river sweep the desert. Lord, we need to make it back to you. Lord, I need to make it home. I just know I can't make it on my own, and I need you here with me. Open up the door and set me free. Come into my heart, bring peace. Without you, there's no chance of sweet release. When all is done, I'll wait for you. It's the only way I'll make it through. We call on you to see us through, unconsumed without a wound. Oh, make a way in the wilderness. Let the river sweep the desert. We need to make it back to you.
But yeah, guys, you guys were listening to Anu's brand new song called Back to You. Wow, what an amazing song, Anu. I mean, it's unexplainable.
Thanks.
You
That's
know, I
very
can
kind.
see, you know, in the song, I can hear the passion, you know, just the way you speak it. I mean, just the way you're singing it, the way you're saying stuff. Oh my goodness, guys, it's just unbelievable. I
Thank
mean,
you.
Anu, for our listeners, where can they find your music or where they can find you? Can you just tell us where they can find you?
Yeah, of course. I'm happy to connect. So my website is Anu Omideyi. So that's ANUOMIDEYI.com. And then you can find my music on all streaming platforms. Just search for my name, Anu Omideyi. And then on social media, my handles are at Anu Omideyi. So you just look for me and you're going to find me.
Wow, amazing. What are we expecting from Anu in the next, let's say, 3-4 months' time? What are we expecting from you?
Just more of the same. So this was the first song of the year. So just get ready for more songs coming out in the year. Just again working towards, and hopefully by the end of the year, another EP. So
wow. I mean, it's been a pleasure having you in Fresh Music Flavor. I mean, I cannot wait, for more music, for more from Anu. I just cannot wait. It's been a pleasure to have you in the house.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you for having me. I've really had a great time today.
You are always welcome to come back to Fresh Music Flavor, because we share gospel. It's all about gospel. It's all love. So you are always welcome back.
Thank you so much.
No.
You're listening to a Fresh Music